Sister's fiancé's younger sister sent baseless yet cruel accusations, sparking a family crisis and trust issues in their relationship. My sister, 34, has been with her fiancé, a 37-year-old man, for the past 9 years. Their bond actually stretches back even further. They were close friends for 11 years before romance ever entered the picture. I think that's important to know because their lives are so intertwined. Their wedding was originally scheduled for December 2023, but they had to postpone it due to some ongoing faith differences. I won't get into all the specifics here, but it's relevant to everything else. There's another layer worth mentioning. The car my sister drives is technically in her fiancé's name. But years ago, she helped him buy the car he drives now. That was their agreement. She had her car, he had his, and things seemed fair and balanced between them. But now, the situation has taken a dark turn. It started when his younger sister, 32, sent my sister a barrage of messages that felt like nothing short of character assassination. The things she said rattled my sister to her core. And what's worse is that my sister's fiancé claims he only confided in his older sister, 42, for advice after my sister took off her engagement ring. He'd asked for time to consider conversion, and after 5 years of wearing that ring, my sister felt it was meaningless to keep it on. In her heart, it felt emotionally dishonest, even though she wanted to respect the space he'd asked for. He admitted that maybe he'd mentioned feeling unsure about their future, but also insisted he told his sisters that things had been talking better between them. So, the fact remains, some private conversations were shared with his family, whether he'll admit to all of it or not. The younger sister's messages were full of accusations, false ones. She painted my sister as manipulative, cruel, even claimed she was belittling and tearing down her fiancé. Aside from the situation with the engagement ring, most of these things simply weren't true. My sister is left heartbroken and confused, desperately wanting to understand where these ideas even came from. And here's the most disturbing part. Throughout those messages, there were very specific phrases, ones that had only ever come up in private conversations between my sister and her fiancé. For example, accusations saying she made him feel like he can't provide. That exact phrase had come up between just the two of them weeks before. Now suddenly his sister is using the same words, yet he claims he doesn't know how she could have known. He suggests maybe his sisters just imagined it, but how could that possibly be? To make it all worse, at the exact time the younger sister was sending those messages, her brother, my sister's fiancé, was actually borrowing her car, because his was in the shop. Yet the sister accused my sister of using the car to manipulate him, saying she was only reaching out to get it back. It couldn't be further from the truth, and it was profoundly disrespectful. Now, my sister plans to come clean to our family, even though her fiancé asked her not to. I genuinely believe he's told his sisters more than he'll ever admit. Whether his sisters filled in the blanks or not, this was a massive breach of trust, and I don't know how they'll ever put things back together again. In my heart, I feel my sister should leave him. What kind of family could she ever hope to join if this is what they think of her? And yet, she still wants to believe that he would never speak of her this way. Someone clearly did, though. All my sister wants now is the truth. And then came the younger sister's words, like a knife. Good morning, Chloe. I hope you're doing well. Hopefully this message finds you well. I'm here to talk about a certain issue between you and my brother. Actually, it's not really an issue between you two, it's an issue about you towards my brother. I'm sending this message woman to woman, because I believe you'll understand the weight of what I'm saying. We all know what happened. I don't need to go into every detail because you know exactly what you did and how much it hurt him. You were with him for 20 years, Chloe. 20 years. If there were problems, you could have stepped up and addressed them, even with me, as his sister. But instead, you chose lies, cheating, manipulation, and walking away in the coldest way possible. You belittled him, told him he could never provide for you, said things that cut him deeply. You lied about your work, about traveling abroad, and all the while you were being unfaithful. You removed the ring knowing exactly what that meant, and now suddenly you're acting like the good person, saying you forgive him just because he took his car back? Forgive him for what exactly? You're the one who cheated. You're the one who left. You're the one who tore him down. Chloe, we see what's happening. My brother might still be conflicted because of the love and time he invested in you, but we are not blind. We see your pattern clearly, and we're not going to sit by while you pull him back and forth. If you don't want to be with him, that's fine, but let him go and let him heal. Don't string him along. Don't manipulate him. Don't use his love for you as a weapon. I'm saying this with respect, but also with complete clarity. We will not allow you to destroy him. He has done nothing but love you and you know that. If you keep this up, we will have no choice but to step in and protect him. I'd rather it doesn't come to that, so please, respect yourself, respect the years you shared, and respect the fact that he has given you nothing but his whole heart. Chloe, I'm going to keep this short because I believe you already know the impact of your actions. You were with my brother for 20 years, and in that time, you knew the depth of his love for you. Yet, instead of being honest or seeking help when things weren't working, you chose lies, manipulation, and betrayal. You removed that ring fully aware of what it symbolized. The harsh words you spoke to him, belittling him, questioning his ability to provide, and tearing down his spirit, were not accidental. Those words cut deep, and you know it. If there were problems, you could have approached me, as his sister, or even sat down with him to resolve things. But you didn't. Instead, you continued to control, to manipulate, and to use his love for you as a weapon. He may still be conflicted because of the time and energy he invested in the relationship, but we are not blind. We see exactly what's happening. Chloe, you need to get it together. If you truly have no love left for him, then let him go and allow him to heal. Stop using emotional manipulation and material possessions as a way to pull him back in. The car you keep asking for is not the issue, it's the pattern. We can all see it, and it ends now. We will not allow anyone to destroy him, not now, not ever. This is the mess my sister has been left with, and all that remains now is for the truth to finally come out. Update 1. My fiancé finally sat down with his family, his mother, the older sister he had confided in, and 2 of his brothers. During their emotional conversation, his older sister admitted that she had indeed mentioned I had removed my ring at one point. She also confessed that she'd brought up, almost in passing, that things between my fiancé and me had been improving, and that, sometimes I say things he doesn't like. She insisted these were offhand comments, barely worth mentioning, and suggested that maybe the younger sister had either picked up other things from somewhere else or had simply jumped to conclusions. I asked my fiancé to go straight to the source. I wanted him to speak to his younger sister and get clarification, accusation by accusation, on where she'd gotten her information. But instead, she shut down completely. She refused to take his calls and told their mother she wasn't ready to talk. After nearly a week, she agreed to a meeting, but on the very day, she sent a message saying she still wasn't ready and maybe sometime in the future. My fiancé didn't back down. He still went to his mother's house and waited for her. When his younger sister arrived, all she could say was, "I'm sorry for everything I've done and written." Nothing more. When pressed about where exactly she'd gotten her information, she completely clammed up, refusing to say another word. Eventually, my fiancé had no choice but to leave. He told me that this weekend they'll try one more time to talk, and he hopes she'll finally open up. Later, his mother pulled him aside. She told him, "What's done is done," and wondered aloud what was the point in keeping the family at odds. If his younger sister wouldn't talk, she said, then there's nothing else to be done. It's time to stop the conflict and move forward as a family. My fiancé also admitted to me that he's learned more about his younger sister's past behavior. Apparently, this isn't the first time she's caused trouble or acted out inappropriately. I cannot wrap my head around it. How can someone do so much harm and refuse to even talk about it, and have the family just let it go like nothing happened? I told him, if we were married, and she ever did something like this again, how would you handle it? I feel so exposed and alone, like I can't trust him to defend me, and like he's just too passive about everything. I need to know where all these accusations started. I can't just move on as if nothing happened. So I told my mom and my 2 other siblings everything that's been happening. They were horrified, still are. Our eldest sibling keeps repeating that she can't understand why I'm still in this relationship at all. She's convinced his family will never stay out of our business and that he can't even handle conflict, let alone protect me from it. Honestly, we all think I should walk away. But I know I'm an adult, and the choice has to be mine, no matter how hard that is right now. One last thing, about the car, I plan to ask that it be transferred into my name. I need at least that certainty, right now, in a world where nothing else feels secure. Update 2. We went to the DMV. I didn't make a scene about it, I didn't warn anyone, I just told him I had the morning off and asked him to come with me. He said yes. He brought the title. He was quiet the entire drive and kept rubbing the corner of the folder like it might bite him. In the parking lot, his phone kept lighting up and he kept flipping it face down. When the woman behind the counter slid the new registration across and said, "Sign here, ma'am," I did, and he did, and it was done. No thunder. No lightning. Just a legal line shifting from one name to another and a feeling that something inside me had clicked into place. He told me his younger sister had finally agreed to talk that night at his mother's house. I said I would come. He said he wanted me there. I believed him. I walked in and they were all already sitting like they'd rehearsed it. His mother at the head of the little dining table, the older sister with her arms folded, the younger one in the corner chair with her phone upside down in front of her like she was punishing it. He sat beside me. I asked one thing, calmly, "Please tell me where you got what you wrote." One source. Not feelings, who told you, or what did you see? The younger sister looked at her mother. His mother looked down at her hands. It wasn't even a pause, it was a silence that had shaped to it. And then the younger sister said, "We saw the messages," and the air went thin. My fiancé turned to his mother and said, "What messages?" She said, "Your messages," and then, like this was supposed to make it better, "The iPad in the den. Remember you set it up for me when Dad was sick? You logged in with your Apple thing because I couldn't figure mine out. It's been there for years." He stood up like he was going to be sick. He kept saying no and no, "You didn't," like he could rewind reality by refusing it. His older sister jumped in with that practical voice she uses when she's about to minimize something into dust and said, "It only shows sometimes. And Mom doesn't even look. I told her not to. It was just that once when we were trying to see if you were okay, and then," the younger one couldn't help herself. She said, "It wasn't just once," and then bit her lip like the words had pushed themselves out. She said she had screenshots. She said she saved them because you always delete things when you're guilty, and I watched my fiancé's face go empty. It explained everything ugly in one breath. The exact phrases. The timing. The little misinterpretations blown up into monsters. She had seen my messages to him about our fight in the kitchen, about how I felt when he joked about money after I'd worked late 3 nights in a row. She had seen my itinerary for Lisbon because my agency booked it on short notice and I forwarded it to him at midnight with a "Can we talk about this tomorrow, please?" in it. She had seen him telling me he was scared about faith and me telling him I wasn't going to wear a symbol I didn't know if we were honoring. She had seen windows with no curtains and decided what the house looked like. I asked her to hand me the screenshots. She refused. I asked her to delete them. She refused again and told me to ask him to delete the lies first. His mother put her head in her hands and said, "What's done is done," like the words could be put back into their boxes if she said it enough times. He went outside and sat on the front step. When I followed him out, he was crying, not the loud kind, just the kind where it's like your face is leaking quietly from a place you can't find. He kept saying he didn't know, he didn't know, he didn't know. I believed he didn't know about the iPad. But there was still the question of what he had actually said out loud to make their stories feel like they had a frame. We left without a big finish. He stayed behind with them, and I drove home with a new registration in the seat beside me, my name bolded in black ink. He came over later and sat on the floor of my living room like a kid who'd missed curfew. He told me he'd changed his Apple ID password. He told me he took the iPad and the old MacBook from the den and brought them with him. He told me he sent a message to his family group thread saying, "Stop reading my messages. Delete anything you have. Do not contact Chloe." And then he told me the part I had been waiting for and dreading. He had told them more than he told me he had. He said that when we postponed the wedding, he panicked. He said he told his mother that I kept changing my mind about things because he didn't want to say I'm scared and I don't know if I can make this part of me bend the way I thought it could. He said when she asked why I was going to Lisbon, he said he didn't know, and then later, when his younger sister asked again, he said, "I don't even know if she told the truth about it, because he wanted it to be someone's fault and I was not in the room." He said that when he and I fought about the budget, he repeated the worst thing he felt I'd said, "I don't feel secure like this," to his older sister as she said I can't provide. He said he let them build a story around those pieces because it felt easier than saying we were both standing in a hard place, together. I asked him why he didn't correct them when it spiraled into cheating and manipulation. He had no answer that made that leap smaller. He said he was ashamed. He said he thought he would fix it before it reached me. He said, "I thought I could absorb it." I stared at him and realized that absorbing it had meant standing by while I got hit with it on his behalf. I told him I wouldn't marry into a room where my private words can be pulled up on a tablet and passed around like gossip at brunch. I told him if there was any path forward, it would be through hard, unglamorous boundaries that would make him deeply uncomfortable. He said yes to therapy before I finished the sentence. He found a counselor that night and booked us for the next afternoon. That part felt like a person reaching for a rope. The session did not fix anything in 50 minutes. But he looked me in the eye and said, out loud, that he had betrayed my trust by omission and by letting a narrative grow because it made him less afraid of losing his family. He told the therapist he felt like he has always needed to keep the peace at his mother's table and that he didn't know how to flip that switch off for me. And then he told me he would, and I told him I would not believe it until it was real in actions I could touch. He sent an email, not a text, not something that would get buried, to his mother and both sisters, copying his brothers, stating that they are not to contact me directly and that any communication about our relationship had to go through him, or not at all. He wrote that any device signed into his accounts needed to be signed out. He wrote that he had changed his password and that he would be picking up any old hardware that wasn't in his possession. It wasn't poetic. It was short and cold and it made my stomach unknot a little. I wish I could say that drew a clean line. His mother called and left a long voice note about how family is messy and how she never meant harm and how this felt like punishment. His older sister sent a single sentence, "I'm sorry for my part." The younger one sent nothing and then, at 2 a.m, sent a blank bubble and then "You don't deserve him," and I blocked her number without replying. The next day, one of his brothers, quiet, never in the middle of anything, texted me a photo of the family iPad lock screen with my name in the message previews, and then a short, "I told mom to give him everything." I didn't know they were doing this. It wasn't an apology so much as a map out of a maze. He's staying at his friend's place this week to give me space. He changed his number. He forwarded me the confirmation email for our next 2 therapy sessions and didn't ask to come over. The ring is still in its little box in my dresser, no different than yesterday, but now it feels less like an empty symbol and more like a decision waiting for proof. I don't know if this is salvageable. I know that the truth is no longer hiding behind someone else's locked phone. I know that my words were read by people who had no right to them, and that the person who should have guarded them didn't. I also know I saw something in him in that living room, an actual break from the reflex to fold himself into the shape of whoever was speaking the loudest. If that's real, it will show up again. If it isn't, I won't need anyone to tell me what to do. The title to my car is in my name. The next thing with my name on it will be a lease or a marriage certificate. I am giving myself permission to decide which. Update 3. I signed a lease. I did it on my lunch break with a pen that kept skipping and a landlord who smelled like dryer sheets. A one-bedroom with a door that sticks in the heat and a window that looks at a maple tree that will turn ridiculous in October. The woman slid a ring of keys toward me, silver, brass, a tiny plastic one that probably opens something I won't understand until I need it, and I put them in my pocket and didn't take them out, again until I was in my car. On the drive home, my phone buzzed with a sound I didn't recognize. AirTag found moving with you. It popped up like a polite cough. I pulled over in front of a dentist's office and followed the on-screen directions. It started chirping, faint, like a bird that got stuck in the wrong wall. I took everything out of the trunk. Nothing. I crawled on my hands and knees in the heat and gravel in a skirt I immediately regretted wearing. It was in the recess behind the rear passenger wheel, tucked into a little crease in the plastic, wrapped with 2 strips of painter's tape like someone tried to be careful and cheap at the same time. When I twisted it, it gave up a soft click. White, with a tiny apple stamped into its face like a smirk. The screen said I could tap it to my phone for info. I did. A string of letters and numbers. No phone number. No return to anything, just an identifier that might as well have been a random license plate. I took out the battery. My hands were shaking so hard the little coin cell almost rolled under the car. I sat in the driver's seat with the dead air tag on my lap and thought about the iPad in the den and all the ways a person can be watched without knowing. I called him. He picked up on the second ring and I didn't say hello. I found an air tag on my car, I said, and I heard his breath change like someone had stepped on his chest. He told me to drive to the police station. He met me there. He was pale, like he'd worn all his color at his mother's table and didn't have any left for the rest of the world. The officer at the desk didn't blink at the word air tag. He took my name and typed like rain on a roof. He told us they could make an incident report, that if we wanted to pursue it there was a way to request information from Apple with a warrant, but that it would take time and might not go anywhere. He looked at him and then at me and said, "Take the battery out and don't put it back. If you see anything else like this, don't touch it, call us." He slid the report number across the counter. The top of the page said my name. We sat in the car and stared at the little white circle on my dashboard. He said, "I don't know whose it is. And then, I'm going to find out." He drove to his mother's house without asking if I wanted to come. I didn't. I went to the new place and leaned my forehead against the cool hallway wall and listened to a neighbor's TV through the plaster and tried to remember what it was like when peace didn't feel like a job. An hour later my phone started lighting up. He'd sent a message to his family. An AirTag was found on Chloe's car. "There is a police report. If you had anything to do with this, contact me only. Do not contact her." His mother called him and then me and I let it go to voicemail. His older sister sent a question mark. His younger sister sent nothing. Then his quiet brother, the same one who'd sent me the iPad photo, texted him, not me, a screenshot, a Find My screen with a device named Keys 2, the little gray circle hopping up and down near a cross street not far from my old apartment. Under it, the name blurred out except for the first letter and the last 4 digits of a phone number that I recognized because I've seen it on 100 family group texts when someone forgot a birthday, his mother's. He called me before I could type anything. "It's on Mom's account," he said, his voice flat with something that wasn't even anger anymore. "She says she didn't put it there. She says she doesn't even know how to use them." He laughed, one sound with no humor in it. "She says maybe it slid off her key ring into your will well." He went back. He walked in, he told me, and put the air tag on the table in front of them, battery in a plastic bag, the report number, on a post-it. He asked his mother to unlock her phone and show him her devices. She cried. She told him family is messy. She told him she would never stalk anyone, that she just wanted to make sure he was safe, that ever since his father died she worries, she worries, she worries. He asked her why Keys 2 had a movement history that matched my commute. The older sister tried to make it reasonable. "We only looked when we were scared," she said, like the fear was a permission slip. The younger one kept her eyes on her lap and said, very quietly, "I didn't do it," which is not the same as it didn't get done. He told them if there was any more contact with my devices or my car or my life, he would file for a restraining order. He told his mother to hand him every air tag in her house. She went drawer by drawer and he waited. 4. One on her keys. One in a junk bowl that still had pennies and rubber bands and a single dried up pen with a prescription logo on it. One on a cat collar, still in the plastic. One loose in the junk drawer with crumbs stuck in its speaker holes. He bagged them. He took the den iPad out from under the magazine stack and the old laptop that had been slid behind the printer since taxes. He put them in his trunk and texted me a photo of the pile like he was sending me proof that he'd pulled out a thorn. Our therapist saw us late, after hours, because she had an opening and because my voice must have sounded like it was about to tip over when I left the message. We sat on the couch and told a stranger about a family that reads messages on a couch while a TV plays commercials for medication with green hills and dogs. I told her I had signed a lease. I told him I was not coming back to the old apartment. He told me that earlier that day he had called the person who had been guiding him through the conversion class and told him he couldn't continue. He said the words like they were heavy but right. I heard the drop of them echo and felt something settle in me that wasn't relief but wasn't panic either. It was just truth sitting down and taking up its chair. He looked at me and said, "I will go no contact." Not a promise floated, not a maybe. He blocked his younger sister on everything in front of me. He muted his mother's calls. He wrote an email, again, colder than the first, attaching the police report, stating that any further attempt to monitor me was to be considered harassment and handled by law enforcement. He copied the brothers again. The quiet one replied with one line I'm going to hear in my head for a long time: "I'm sorry I didn't stop it sooner." He slept at his friend's. I slept on the floor of my new living room with a rolled sweatshirt under my head and a blanket that kept slipping and the maple tree outside doing absolutely nothing except being there. In the morning, I bought a little safe at the hardware store for the AirTag and the report and the printout of the email and the ring in its square box. I slid them inside and turned the dial. I still don't know if I'm saving evidence or a memory. Maybe both. The younger sister broke her silence at 3:11 a.m. with an email that said, "You don't get to call the cops on family," and I didn't answer because I am not family. Not like that. Not anymore. His mother left me a voicemail I listened to twice because I couldn't believe the shape of it the first time. Apologies threaded with explanations, threaded with the soft, tired tyranny of "that's just how we are." She asked me to come by, woman to woman, and I pictured that iPad on the coffee table like a placemat and felt my teeth go tight. I didn't go. He came over after work with a copy of a new lease with his name on it and an address 5 blocks from mine. He set it on my counter without a speech. "I need to learn how to live without them in the middle of everything," he said, and I believed that he meant it even if I didn't know if he could do it. He handed me a spare key I hadn't asked for and I handed it back. "Later," I said. "If later comes." He nodded like someone putting down a heavy bag. "I don't know if it's salvageable. I know that I am done living inside someone else's open tabs. I know that when my phone chirps now, I listen, and when my gut chirps, I listen harder. I know that when I slid my new key into my new lock, it stuck, and I jiggled it, and then the bolt turned, and the door opened. I know that if he is going to be beside me on the other side of that door, he will have to keep choosing it in ways that make him sweat. He says he will. I am not staying to find out because I'm hopeful. I am staying to see if he tells the truth with his life. The maple is already throwing more shade than yesterday. The ring is in the safe with a number I didn't memorize on purpose. The car title is in my glove box. The police report is in my email. The door sticks less when the humidity drops. I am learning the pressure to use when it does. That feels like the whole thing right now, the right amount of pressure, at the right places, until something opens. Update 4. The maple has 3 leaves already flirting with red. I was halfway through an email about a client's deliverables when my boss tapped my doorframe and did the thing where she smiles with her mouth and not her eyes. "Can we talk?" Conference room 3. Glass walls, bad carpeting, the kind of chairs that make a whispery sound when you sit down. HR was there with a folder. She slid it across like it might break if she let go too fast. Anonymous email to the general inbox accusing me of falsifying expenses and lying about international travel to cover infidelity. Screenshots attached. My texts. Cropped to make the worst lines float without the softening ones around them. The Lisbon itinerary with my name shaved off the top, forwarded at 12:02 a.m. with my midnight "Can we talk about this tomorrow, please?" Truncated to "Can we talk" and nothing else. My boss said she believed me and that this was just procedure. HR said she needed to open an internal review because paperwork is paperwork. I could feel my pulse in my calves. I asked for the email headers. She printed them. Gmail, created 2 days ago, the name a string of vowels that looked like someone dropped a cat on a keyboard. I smiled with my mouth and not my eyes and thanked them for being thorough. I forwarded the entire thing to myself, to him, to our therapist. My hands didn't shake until after. I texted him, they went to my work. He called immediately. I didn't pick up because my boss was still sitting there being kind in a way that wanted an answer I didn't have. When I stepped back into the hallway, I saw them through the glass in the lobby like I had manifested a nightmare by saying it out loud. His mother in a beige cardigan, his younger sister behind her, hair scraped back so tight it made her forehead look surprised. They were at the front desk asking for a visitor badge like we were a dentist. I didn't go out. I stood behind a ficus people kept forgetting to water and watched the receptionist shake her head and point toward the sign about appointments only. Security came over with that shuffle that says "Please don't make this my problem." Someone must have told them no because they didn't come deeper. 10 minutes later, he walked in, still in his work boots, jaw set in a way that made a muscle jump where his beard shadow starts. He didn't look at me. He went straight to them. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read the shape. His mother started with her palms up. The younger sister folded her arms and leaned back like a critic. He kept his hands at his sides. He pulled his phone out, dialed, didn't look away, spoke to whoever answered, nodded once, put it back in his pocket. His mother cried. He didn't touch her. Security gestured toward the door. His mother said something that made the younger one smile. He turned and pointed at the sign-in iPad on the desk and then at the door again, and they went. Not quickly. Not with dignity. Just out. He texted me from the sidewalk, "Police coming. Stay inside." I stayed. 2 officers came and took statements while the receptionist chewed gum like it was part of her job. He asked them to issue a trespass notice for the building. They did. They handed me a yellow copy with carbon dust still fresh on it and my name typed slightly crooked because the machine was older than all of us. He asked them to add it to the report number from the air tag. They stapled it together like safety. We went straight from work to the courthouse where the ceiling is high and the air smells like old books and somebody's lunch. The woman at the window gave me a clipboard attached to a pen with a plastic sunflower taped to it and said, "Write what happened." I did. I wrote about a family iPad and an air tag like a coin and screenshots of my private life showing up at my employer's desk. I wrote about a lobby and a no that did not land the first time. He filled out one too, his name at the top, his mother's and younger sister's names in the boxes where you are supposed to list respondents. He didn't look up. The judge read fast. He asked 2 clarifying questions like he was making sure he had the order of the verbs right, and then he stamped the pages with something that made a solid, satisfying sound. Temporary orders. 14 days. No contact, no surveillance, no appearing at residence or workplace. His hand shook when he took his copy. Mine shook less than I expected. We walked outside into late afternoon that felt like it had been wrung out. His quiet brother texted both of us a single word, "Here." He met the process server in front of his mother's house so they wouldn't pretend they weren't home. He texted me a photo from the sidewalk, just shoes and a doormat that said "Bless this mess" and a hand we both know taking a folded set of papers through a barely open door. I put my phone face down and stared at the maple like it had answers. At home, he unscrewed my cheap blinds and replaced them with ones that actually close without a fight. He measured twice, cut once, vacuumed the plastic shavings with a dustbuster that screams like a toy. He called his cell provider on speaker and moved his number off his mother's family plan while we ate Thai food out of containers on the floor. He canceled the shared iCloud storage. He dissolved the family calendar that had a default event called dinner. He signed a year lease at the place 5 blocks over and sent me the utility setup emails like they were proof of a choice. He gave me no spare key. I didn't ask. At 2 in the morning, my phone lit up with a sign-in attempt from unknown device and a location ping that was 5 miles from his mother's house and 2 from a coffee shop we used to go to on Saturdays. I denied it. He texted me without hello, changed everything again. Added 2-factor with a physical key. If something gets through, it's not mine. I believed him and I didn't, at the same time, which turns out to be a trick your body learns when your nervous system is tired enough. HR emailed the next day to say the anonymous complaint had been noted and the review would be closed pending corroboration, that they would keep the file open for 30 days out of an abundance of caution. I sent the police report number. I sent an email to myself with the subject line "If something happens," and attached the PDFs like talismans. His mother emailed a paragraph that started, "I respect the court," and ended with, "We are just worried about you both," which is a sentence that says nothing and everything if you hold it up to the light. His younger sister replied to the restraining order with a typing indicator that went on for 2 hours and then nothing. The older one sent another single line, "I'm sorry for my part," but this time she added, "I will not contact you again." I felt my shoulders drop a fraction I didn't know was available. Our therapist moved us to 2 sessions a week for a little while. He went to one alone and came back with eyes that looked like he'd been held to a mirror for longer than is comfortable. He sat across from me and told me without decoration that he had called the venue we had put a deposit on last year and asked them to release it to me. He said he told the man his name and then said, "Actually, this is for Chloe," and then spelled my last name slowly like he was engraving something. I looked at him and saw a person doing paperwork as penance, and I didn't know if that was noble or just practical, and maybe it doesn't matter. At lunch, my boss put a mason jar with a single dahlia on my desk because she is trying to be light in the places where it's dark. My neighbor upstairs dropped a shoe at 3 a.m. exactly like he did the night before, which means there are some things you can count on. The maple threw a patchy shade that moved across the floor like a clock nobody set. He and I walked around the block after dinner with no destination because moving forward in circles is still movement. He didn't reach for my hand and I didn't offer it. He told me he met with a lawyer to draft a formal cease and desist with words that have more weight than emails, and he sent it certified with little green cards that come back with signatures on them. He told me he's thinking about changing his last name, not to mine, not to anything of mine, but to his grandmother's, because he wants a story that doesn't begin with the house with the den where the iPad lives. I said nothing for a long time and then said, "Okay," and meant it in a way that surprised me. The orders got served. The quiet brother texted me a photo of the den with a rectangle of dust where the iPad used to live and a TV paused on a commercial with a golden retriever. He added, "She's mad, like weather." I put my phone face down again and watched the light change until it wasn't. The ring sat in the safe with its little velvet square like a mouth that's not sure if it should speak. He sent me a calendar invite for therapy titled "Tell the Truth with Your Life," and I accepted it because I don't have better words yet. The door stuck when I came home and then opened with the right pressure. I am learning that, too. Where to push and where to let it be stuck and come back later. And then, at 6:17 this morning, a robin landed on the fire escape and scolded me like I already knew all of this and was just pretending not to. I made coffee. I unlocked my front door and relocked it. The maple took another leaf closer to red. I am still here. He is 5 blocks away, choosing and choosing and choosing. We will see.